And I call them up for new.
Speaker, what a load of nonsense. What a load of prattle and nonsense. And we just go, I don't know where we start with such a load of nonsense. Let's start with the fact that there was no extension of Chaffey Dam when the Labor, the Green and the Independents, and they were a merry little bunch, that lot, left government. We had to get the approval through. They didn't have an approval. They were bent over backwards looking after the frogs, looking after the Burlong frogs.
Order.
And then we know that we've just listened. You have listened, ladies and gentlemen, out there in Radio Land, to the Shadow Minister for Agriculture. And did you hear one thing that could even vaguely relate to a policy by the Labor Party? Of course not. Oh no, hang on. They have to do something about carbon emissions. So before they do anything, they've got to do something about carbon emissions first. See, what they're going to do is the member for Hunter is going to cool the planet, and after he's done that, he's going to come back and give you a drought policy. Well, if there's anybody still here when that happens, good luck to you. There will be nothing left. They never have the gumption, they never have the motivation, they never have the muscle to come in here and actually nominate something that they will actually do. What they do is they say, well, you know, we're going to, first of all, reduce carbon emissions, and then we'll look after the farmers who have no money. Then we'll look after the fact that there is no fodder. But they don't even mention that. There's no plan. I'm going to give you a plan of how we are going to start by moving 6,500 tonnes of fodder from New Norcia over to Parks. We're talking about that today. There's another 500 tonnes just up the road from it that's going to join up for it as well. We're also talking about what we're going to do with the crop. There's a crop over in Western Australia that's just had to deal with a frost, and that frost means that there's a great capacity for wheat and hay to be moved to the east. We're going to look at how we have been having discussions this morning with the Prime Minister about how we get further stimulus into regional towns on top of the $1 million that we've put into every council in the drought areas to help them out. Ladies and gentlemen, these are policies. This here today, we are talking about 100% write-off, 100% write-off for fodder storage assets. And that's huge. That's huge. You spend $10 million on new silos, you can write them off straight away. If it's associated with a drought, you can do that. That's real policy. Just like we've got the 100% write-off for water reticulation, part of the white paper. Just like we've got the 100% write-off for fencing, part of the white paper. Just like we changed farm management deposits from $400,000 to $800,000, part of the white paper.
What did you ever do, Joe? What did your mum
What did they do? We set up the Regional Investment Corporation, a new regional-based bank, which the Labor Party are going to get rid of. The Labor Party are going to get rid of. The Labor Party are going to get rid of. We have put the money on the table to build the Inland Rail. The Labor Party hasn't. The Labor Party doesn't believe in it. We have money on the table for dams. The Labor Party is going to take the money out. And that's the difference. Everywhere they go, they are destroyers. They are the political Shiva of rural Australia. Every time they go somewhere, they are going there to destroy. We believe in decentralisation. Does the member for Hunter, the Shadow Minister for Agriculture, stand by the movement of APVMA to Armidale? Does he? Does he? Oh, he's silent now. Oh, he's silent now. He's silent now. He's silent now, isn't he? He will never actually go into bat for regional Australia. Well, your Labor Party candidate in Armidale wants to know where you are. The Labor Party candidate in Armidale wants to know where you're going. He wants to know where you're going. He'd like you to go a long, long way away. That's where he'd like you to go, because you're not helping him. When you arrive, it's just going to be everywhere they go. They never stand up for regional Australia, never once. And we always have to go back into bat. And it's great to be sitting in the room today with the Prime Minister, with Major General Stephen Day, with the President of the NFF, Fiona Simpson, with the Deputy Prime Minister, Michael McCormick, to try and make sure that we take this next step forward. Not once has the Labor Party gone to the dispatch box at question time and asked a question about drought. They don't do it. They don't do it because the Shadow Minister for Agriculture, the member for Hunter, is so basically impotent, politically impotent, that he does not have the capacity to get a question through tactics. He can't get a question up at tactics time. They either just don't care about agriculture or they don't care about him. I'd say it's both. They don't care about either. They don't care about either. So we have so much more to do. We have so much more to do, and we're going to make sure that we drive ahead. And I am happy to say that in my discussions with the Prime Minister this morning, there is a real motivation. We are going to make sure that the empathy stops, the action starts, and starting right now. Around about now, in a few minutes' time, the Prime Minister will be doing a press conference, and I'm absolutely certain that he will be mentioning there the further things we have to do to assist other areas, especially in areas such as what's happening with the adulteration in the strawberry industry and the disaster that's caused and how much hurt that has caused, and that would be something you'd believe. Maybe wait for them today. See, they might want to ask a question on that. Maybe the shadow Minister for Agriculture might get a question today. Show some interest. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to ask the Labor leader for tactics, Mr. Tony Burke, who's the leader of opposition business. We'll see that if he can get the member for Hunter a question today. I plead with you. Give the member for Hunter a question today. Give him some relevance. I'm helping you out here. Give him some relevance. And what we are doing here is building on the $4 billion agricultural white paper. Building on the $4 billion agricultural white paper. And it's great to see the dam that we built, Chaffey Dam. And it's great to see the dams in the Midlands and Tasmania that we are building. And it's great to see the Wimmera Mallee pipeline that we are building. It's great to see the pipeline in the Macalester Irrigation District that we are building. And what about Rookwood Weir that we're building? The Labor Party fought it all the way through. Any rat hole that they could run up to go and look after their green mates and green preferences, that's the rat hole they were running to. We are trying to get some infrastructure built. I know the member for Kennedy. He's a big fan of Hell's Gate. This is a great project. You got no hope of ever getting something like that through past the Labor Party. They'll be looking after their green mates. The same green mates they look after when they don't want to open up Galilee Basin. The same green mates they look after when they don't want to open up Galilee Basin. And it's incredible. It's such a peculiarity that the member for Hunter, formerly supported by blue-collar workers, has turned their back on them like he turned his back on the farmers. They've given up. They've become the party for the inner suburban areas, and they're getting a vote to match. But this bill is part and parcel. It's not the fight. It's the start of a whole range of issues that we have to deal with what is the worst drought in records in certain areas. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the rainfall of Tamworth, so far this year is slightly better than the annual rainfall of Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. It is so devastating that what is happening right now is there are gum trees, and they're a pretty good indicator of how dry it gets. They are dying in areas. They are dying because of lack of water. And we have a national crisis, and we have to deal with it as a national crisis. And we have to hope that the efforts of this parliament are put towards a constructive debate to drive policy. So I'm happy that we have made the changes to the farm household allowance, and I commend the Minister for Agriculture, who's now coming to the chamber, because we've gone a long way. Because I remember when the Labor Party were in power, Mr. Deputy Speaker, only 367 people got access to farm household allowance. 367. Now we have well in excess of 8,000 people who have had access to it, and this is so vitally important. Uncapped, it's heading at about $250 million that's been spent on it, and that's so vitally important. It shows real money that is going on the table to help people. And I know there's more we could do to streamline that application process. And I know the Minister for Agriculture is working on that. And we've been having discussions about precisely that this morning, and I know the Minister for Agriculture is doing an absolutely remarkable job, splendid job, hard at work. We always knew that the member for Maranoa would be a person, because of the vastness of his electorate, that has such a great understanding of how agriculture works. And I know that the member for Maranoa, the Minister for Agriculture, would dearly love to be challenged in question time by the vociferous and cogent questions delivered by the member for Hunter. But he doesn't. He might as well do Sudoku when he comes in here, because he never gets the question from the member for Hunter. Never. Oh my gosh. He's on his feet.
I alert the member for New England to the fact that he doesn't have to go his 15 minutes.
Yeah. Member for New England has the call.
Oh, it's so funny. He's a funny man. He's a funny man. Gosh, he's in the wrong career. He's in the wrong career, member for Burry. He should have been over at the Emmys the other night. He would have done a lot better job. But what we have to make sure is that we get the absolute focus of this nation's parliament on helping these people, who are dealing with it so tough during the drought. We know now in the abattoirs, as I was speaking to one the other day, that many of the cows they're killing at the moment, they're killing them with the calf inside. That means people are going through their breeding herd. They're going through their breeding herd. And because they're going through their breeding herd, that means when the drought is over, there's going to be serious problems for abattoirs because the stock prices will go through the roof, and their capacity to make $1 is going to go through the floor. The last thing we want is for these abattoirs to close or to shut down, because that means workers who we have to look after, blue-collar workers that we have to look after, will be out of work. And part of the challenge of this parliament would be to suggest how we're going to keep these workers, probably members of the AWU, many of them, how we keep them in a job. But have the Labor Party ever proposed during question time a discussion about this? Of course not. Of course not. They've talked about reduction of carbon emissions. Well, I'm sure I'll be able to hand that to someone on the boning floor of a local abattoir. Say, look, what the Labor Party are going to do for you is they're going to reduce carbon emissions. Now, good luck, and I hope that keeps you in a job. But I don't think it will. I think they'll be looking for something a little bit more direct than that. A little bit more tangible. Something to take home to their partner of how they're going to pay for their house if the abattoir closes down. But I don't think it's going to be a policy on carbon reductions. I think it's carbon emission reductions. I think it's going to be, what is the government doing to make sure that if this drought continues, that I, as a meat worker, still have a job. But the Labor Party won't ask those questions. But we are in the process of working out precisely how we deal with issues such as that. No, the drought has become more pronounced the last couple of years. You might have been in opposition for 5 years, but it's very understandable. If you saw how you performed, it's a wonder you're not there for 50 years. But it's what we have to make sure is that as we continue on this path, 100% write-off for fencing, 100% write-off for water, now 100% write-off for all your fodder storage, for the extension and the streamlining of the farm household allowance, making sure that the regional investment corporation that we've set up, the Labor Party want to get rid of, is focused on making sure that when the recovery phase comes, that we're able to deliver an outcome back to regional Australia to keep the cash flows going. Stimulus package, $1 million per council. I'm sure there is more we can do, and I know that the Prime Minister has been made fully aware of that by the ardent efforts of such people as the member for Maranoa in making sure that we go forward with a drought policy that actually delivers on this crisis. A great example of how a government works is how they deal with a crisis. And away from all the theatrics, there's something that's very important. Who is actually providing a path of real policy to deal with the crisis of the drought? Well, I would suggest that the National Party and the Liberal Party, supported by such people as the member for Kennedy, are doing that. What I would suggest is the Labor Party have said nothing, so that they've showed that when a crisis is at their door, they have nothing to say. They have nothing to say except theatre. They never, and negativity. They never actually come forward with real policies. They never challenge us on real policies. It is all a rhetorical flourish. And what this shows today, right as we are speaking here, with Treasury Laws Amendment supporting Australian Farmers Bill, is precisely that. We are supporting Australian farmers. We're actually bringing forward the legislation to do it. And this is merely part of what is to come. I think it's going to be very important for people, and it's good to see Councillor Webb and Mr. Bede Burke in the gallery today for these people to understand that this parliament is hard at work helping them. Hard at work making sure that we ask the questions and we deliver on the outcomes so that we can get the fodder from Western Australia over to Tamworth, over to Gunnedah, over to the Upper Hunter, an area that are quite relieved that they now have an advocate who actually takes their agriculture in their area seriously. They're seriously. So it's going to be interesting today. A test today is whether the member for Hunter, the Shadow Minister for Agriculture, in the middle of a record drought, actually gets a question, or whether, once more, the only people in regional Australia that they can truly rely on is the National Party and the Liberal Party.
I thank the honourable member for New England.